Hello, my name's Anita Doolan and I'm here in the warehouse where we're doing a Brigg Bus podcast. We're here every Wednesday in the warehouse from 8 till 8 and we do what's called a featured artist slot at 9 o'clock. That means we have different creatives like writers, painters, any creative you can think of. We have here every week and so what we decided to do was make an extension with this Brigg Bus podcast. And so tonight we have up from Cork, Rob Worrall, and thank you, Rob, for coming up.
You're welcome.
Pleased to be here. Good. Please, we're grateful to have you. So, this is Rob's second time up with us, so we're honoured. So, Rob, maybe we kick it off and want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yeah. So my name's Rob Worrall, and I'm an Anglo-Nigerian, but I prefer to call myself a Yoruba-Brummie because my Nigerian heritage is Yoruba, and obviously I'm from Birmingham. Mm-hmm. I do a number of things in life, but one of my passions is writing and performing. So I'm particularly interested in the spoken word, and I'm also interested in how we give voice to different aspects of our identity and how this helps increase a feeling of belonging, which might be to a place, but could also be to a feeling, to a group of people, to a family, or even in some ways to a memory.
Yes, yeah.
So, most recently, since I've been in Ireland, I've just taken up poetry again because for many years I'd put it aside because of family and work responsibilities. But I took it back up in about 2020. Partially in a response to COVID, I guess, and then also in response to the situation I was in, which was looking after my late wife Lizanne, who was quite ill at the time, and also looking after my two younger kids while trying to work at the same time. So I suppose the written expression became my way of processing all that was going on. I was really fortunate because during that time I entered a competition in Cork. Okay. So this competition was for people who were from Cork living abroad, or people from abroad living in Cork. Okay. So as I was in the latter group, they said all you needed to do was write in 20 words what Cork made you think or feel about. So I just put it in on my phone one day, not thinking anything of it, and as a result of that, I was selected. Wow. So I was one of 10 people selected to take part in a series of workshops about creative nonfiction. Brilliant. And these were run by Maeve Higgins, who is quite a well-known, I think, comedian, artist, and also who writes, I think she writes for the New York Times. So it was a really interesting group of us. There were about 4 or 5 people from Cork living in places like Finland and India. And then there were people from India, the UK, and different places living in Cork. And we just went through a whole series of workshops, different forms of creative writing, creative nonfiction. And as a result of that, I kind of started thinking about, well, I want to do a bit more work on the poetry, and I'd always wanted as well to complete my memoir, which I kind of stopped and started for about 10 years. Okay. So I thought the best thing for me to do was to find a course. And I found this MA in creative writing at UCC. And so what I did was I actually submitted a piece of my writing that I created on that course and submitted it as part of my application form. Okay. And in the meantime, I also got involved in an initiative in Bandon, where I live, called Poetry Town. I think there were a number of poetry towns. across Ireland. And I was asked to read a couple of my poems for that. And, I was then encouraged to, apply for a bursary from the Poetry, I think it was the Poetry Council. So I did, and I got a small bursary. And I started, and I used that bursary to get some, lessons from, not lessons, but really get some guidance from, and some mentoring from a guy called Stan Nutte, who's a famous, compere spoken word artist based in Cork. And, Stan has a really interesting, background. He's part Italian, and, he's just got an interesting take on life. So we started developing a performance piece based on some of my ideas from, and events that had happened during my life. I went to Nigeria in 2003 to meet with my birth father for the very first time.
Wow. Yeah.
So
how'd that go?
That was amazing. It was kind of life changing, and it just made me feel, it just, created, it plugged a hole in part of my identity that I knew was missing.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel like I belonged, not necessarily one place, but, it kind of made me feel belonging was a feeling, or rather than it being about a particular place. And I'd always thought I didn't quite fit in any one place wherever I was. And I realized that feeling was like, it was a feeling of wholeness for me. And back to my work, I just kind of, so I got this bursary in Poetry Town. I got this, I applied for the MA and I got in.
Wow. Well
done. I did that over 2 years. And as part of that, I explored poetry, poetry and mythology, writing the self, memoir. I did a dissertation on memoir, so I've still got to finish the memoir, but I've got some of it there. And what I'm really interested in then, what has taken my interest is a phrase I heard some time ago. Someone said, what's in a name? Yeah. And to me, I really like those questions like, what's in a name? Who are you? Because I think simple questions can make people sit up and think. So in terms of myself, I'm Anglo-Nigerian. I'm Brummie born and bred, but then there's also a Nigerian side of me that I didn't find till later life. And then I also have 4 kids. My oldest 2 kids, they're Belgian Anglo-Nigerian, and my youngest 2 kids are Irish Anglo-Nigerian. And I realized from that experience of being a dad to them, but also the experience of my own experience and their experience, is that there are so many different facets of diversity and so many different ways in which people can be diverse, that there isn't one way to fit in. There isn't one way to be. And I remember many years ago, I was invited to a dinner by a Nigerian friend, and I was absolutely fascinated. This was before I'd found my birth father, and I was fascinated because he invited me to dinner, and he invited 2 couples to dinner at the same time. And the one couple, I think one of them was Russian Nigerian, and the other was Cuban Nigerian, and then the other couple, again, I think they were Israeli Nigerian and Brazilian Nigerian. So a real mix. And it was really unusual for me to be with mixed race people who were part Nigerian. And it was just really such a rich conversation. And I started developing a real fascination for these issues of who are you, where do you belong, and I kind of started thinking about my kids in all that. And a good few years ago, I suppose in 2017, 18, I actually started wondering what it was like for my kids to be, you know, mixed race, my older two.
Yes.
And I was kind of thinking, oh, do they feel the same way as I feel? And is their experience the same or is it different? And I kind of wanted to talk to them about it, but I didn't know how to talk to them about it without being a dad.
Yes, yes.
So I kind of came up with it. So I came across this, conference, which was taking place in Finland, of all places, in 2017. And it was the Afropean Conference. And it was about studies which looked at the African experience in Europe in different ways. And I looked at it differently. I was thinking, well, I'm an Afropean. I'm part African and I'm part European. And in one of my first degrees, my early degrees was European studies. And I kind of really liked the idea of Europe. And I said to my kids, do you fancy going to Finland?
Nice,
and they
okay.
were like, that's a bit left of field, Dad, going to Finland. I said, yeah, there's this conference, like going in Finland, Afropean conference. And I said, let's do a paper and submit it and present it together. And they were like, yeah, whatever, Dad. And I said, no. I said, and I came up with this wacky idea that we would interview each other.
Yeah, very good.
So, and we just asked each other, who are you? Where do you belong?
Yes.
And how do you know?
Yeah.
So we interviewed each other.
That's a great way to interact with your kids.
We interviewed each other. And we took responsibility to write up our own notes. And then we did an analysis, and then we did a presentation. And then we presented it at this conference. And it was just a fascinating, experience, fascinating journey, kind of connected me to understand better about my kids. And like the people at the conference were like, wow. And we were like, well, so we all presented it. So all three of us stood up and presented this paper at this conference in Finland. So for me, that the things about like, where am I, where I'm from, I think as I've grown older and as I've been to Nigeria and I found my father and I started, connecting in with my siblings, on the Nigerian side, as well as obviously my siblings already knew my siblings on the English side. I've kind of developed more confidence a bit and more curiosity as to the history of me, but also the history of those people that went before me. And I think if you're not from a place, but you're of a place, so I've always told people I'm from Birmingham, but I'm of Nigeria.
Yes, yeah.
So there's part of me there, even though I wasn't brought up there. I think you're always scared as in that way of not being from there, of like claiming that part. But I think one way we can do that and we can explore that is through different forms of expression and different forms of art.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think art and expression is a great way of helping people explore and build connection and helping you explore, you know, where you're from, your origins and what makes you up. Because, you know, even if you're not from there, it's in your DNA. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
So I think there's not just, I think there's scientific DNA, but I also think there's cultural and artistic and historical DNA. That films part of us. I love being in Ireland because I know they talk about things like the being, about how the experience of the Irish, is carried by everybody through the generations. Sometimes very positively and sometimes not so positively.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of think that in all of us, partially known and partially not known, the histories or experiences of our forebears, we also carry with us.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I find that very interesting because like myself personally, I know about 2 sides of my family.
Yeah.
But my name, Doolan, I only go back to my grandparents.
Yeah.
And it only actually occurred to me now, maybe getting older, that I'm occurring to me, I'd like to know more of my history.
Yeah.
I'd like to know further back. Like, you know, all I'm doing now, I teach different programs, working in communities, community development worker as well. Where did I get that from?
Yeah.
It's been somebody in my past. So it's very interesting to look into and to explore, as you say. And art is a great way for expressing and exploring. And can you do like leadership things, programs as well, don't you?
Yeah, I do a lot of, so my main professional area is leadership development and collaboration.
Yeah.
So I work with organizations, I work with universities, and I work with communities, helping them develop themselves as leaders, but also developing their leadership in the way they work with each other. So one thing I'm really known for, I guess, is place-based leadership development. So that's the idea that you can get a group of people who are working in a particular place and help them address some of the issues that are facing them collectively.
Yeah, because just to mention, for the Brigg Bus podcast, that you're here in Brigg for the last nearly a year, and working with different. I'm on the program myself, working with different, suppose leaders, for want of a better word, of different organisations. People are just, you know, out there in community development work, and it's been very interesting for us speaking about Brigg, and about how like great Brigg is, how we can improve like Brigg, how can we make the services better, how can we make, you know, our time in the town better. And it's been very interesting, and it's a great way for like a town to come together, and let's learn from all of that. And I know we've been really exploring, delving deep into what can we change, what can we make better, and you know, so it's been very insightful, and so we've been getting a lot out of you know, your teaching, facilitating. Yeah.
Thank you. I became fascinated with that in the late noughties, and to cut a very long story short, I did a PhD in it. And I bumped into a fella in a swimming pool in Kenya. That's a different story. And I ended up doing place-based leadership development with communities in Kenya that had suffered a lot of urban violence. So I worked in 2 places, Nakuru and Naivasha in Kenya. Also worked in Uganda and Guatemala. With local organizations and local leaders from different sectors, like I'm doing here, very much looking at how leadership and leadership development can help them, address some of the issues that they're facing. And what's good is, because I'm also you know, an artist, a writer, a poet, the spoken word, those aspects of the art that I'm interested in, I very much try to bring into the program. I very much storytelling, live storytelling is part of the programs that I design and I deliver. And I think getting people to share their stories and think about more about themselves. There's a diversity of perspectives, but actually we all have a number of things in common. You know,
absolutely.
In any one place, we want the place to be better for our children. We want it to be better for our communities. I might be a gardener, or I might be a community development worker, or I might be a migrant, but I'm also a mom, or a sister, or a dad. So those telling our stories helps us better connect with each other.
Yeah, because I always feel like, you know, I say leadership programs, and I don't mean, you know, up your hierarchy, none of that. I mean, just it's an empowerment for us as community development workers, or, you know, whatever, parents. One of the greatest leaders, you know, is parents. Like, they're out there nourishing children to, you know, become I'm trying to make a better world and stuff, and it is trying to create a better environment to live in, a better community, better flow, and especially Balbriggan is one of the most diverse.
Yeah, totally.
It's so young, and the population's so young. It's so we're all learning from each other.
Yeah, I think the importance of Balbriggan being very young. I think the fact that it's a growing town, there's lots of diversity, there's a lot of different perspectives. And, in the program, we don't shy away from saying there can be conflict, there can be differences of opinion, but it's also about what are those things that connect us. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes, very simple questions can actually have a very profound effect on people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the same questions that my kids and I asked of each other in that piece of research we did, they're the same kind of questions I'm asking of leaders in communities in places like Balbriggan.
Yeah.
We were also working in the southwest in the city, and previously I've worked in Darndale and I've worked in Drogheda, very much on the similar program with groups of leaders, trying to help them better understand themselves and better understand their strengths and areas for development, but also better understand each other, because I think that connection, that humanization of any place is a really powerful way of getting people to really, want to carry on appreciating each other, appreciate what they're doing to improve the place, and also what else can be done to improve that place. Yeah,
and I like that. It's the connection, and it's the listening to other people's stories, and there's a bonding in that as well. There's a real authentic place that you visit, and someone's been vulnerable in front of you, telling their story, and then also allowing myself to be vulnerable to tell my story to the group, which is brilliant. And so it kind of because it doesn't always come easy for people to express, and that's okay. You start off small. That's like I did. I started off really small and just keep building myself up within myself. Now I'm talking about it's getting up the higher, just within me and my confidence and the growth, and that's what I think Balbriggan has a lot of. Oh my goodness, this community spirit is amazing. Yeah. 50% of the work that's done in town is done by volunteering. And my goodness, the people are amazing. And, all the different groups, I could be here all night naming them because there's so many, which is brilliant, and individuals. And so you're trying to bring those people together as well, and and acknowledging their work.
Yeah, I think it's acknowledging and being a witness to people's experiences.
Exactly.
And, showing our vulnerability is very courageous, but it's also very powerful.
Yes.
And if we can learn skills in how to listen actively, how to engage, how to work with people, and not do things to people.
Exactly.
Asking first, and also, how do we advocate for people? How do we work with them? How do I connect? How do I connect with people? So all these, we work within the program, we work with a set of principles and behaviors that we try and make sure we replicate and take back to our everyday.
Yeah.
But also I think it's this is what builds trust. This is what builds connectedness. This is what enables people to be vulnerable and open, is because we together create a safe space to do that. And I think for me, it also means, so part of that for me of telling your story is also about claiming all parts of yourself.
Yes.
It's about claiming those parts of yourself that might be hidden or you didn't previously know so much about.
Yes.
So I'm very interested in, and I love this about Ireland. I love that Ireland is particularly interested in its own history.
Heritage.
I like the fact that Ireland talks about, in Ireland you can talk about pre-pagan times, and you can talk about Christian times, but you can also talk about pre-pagan times. And for me, when I think about Nigeria, and when I've been to Nigeria and when I've been to Kenya, I always think about the fact that there are some, they may seem very different, but the fact of there being pre-pagan times and having advanced societies in pre-pagan times, that existed in Ireland. It also existed in Kenya and existed in Nigeria. And then the fact of colonization as well, that also existed in, that's also an experience that we share.
Yeah.
And I suppose I feel, I don't know Irish, but I love the fact that the Irish are still very connected to the land, that you have so many, town names, like land, I think there's 42,000 or something, townland names, in Bandon, in every area, there's a really small plots of land that have, and then next to it there'll be another one with a different name.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you'll have Clancoolmore, and you'll have Coolmore, and you have Coolbeg.
Yeah.
And I find that connection to the land which existed, which was rooted in a pre-Christian pagan time, really fascinating. Because I also think that also exists in Nigeria.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, like I just was brought there to the Aran Islands, where you go into the island and, they speak Irish.
Yeah.
Still. And I went there for a week one time, and they say on the island, there's no time on the island. Well, after a day, you realize you forget about the mobile, you forget about the time, and you really just embrace.
Yeah, like I was reading in some parts of Nigeria, and in Yoruba culture, which is my father was, Yoruba, and they said, that sometimes time is relative and it depends on the situation. So traditionally time is relative, depends on the situation. And I find names fascinating. I find the origins of names fascinating. And I find that's also a way to connect yourself, because I think there's almost there's an invisible line that, even if we've lost some of it, there's an invisible line or thread that connects us back.
Yeah, I mean,
to the people before us.
And it's fascinating, because when I was walking on the Aran Islands at night, and because my dad was a fisherman, and I'd met a fisherman and he actually knew my dad. My dad's passed many moons ago now, and I was like, it's a small community, but I got that sense of ancestors, and I just thought, wow. But at the same time, there was no time going on for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though I was connecting back into the past, I was, oh my goodness, and so I'm sure that's what it must have felt for you going to, Nigeria as well,
Yeah, I got, when I go to a place, I always, I suppose I'll go to a place and then I have to have a book about it, and I read the history. I get fascinated by it. I don't always finish the books, but I get fascinated by it. And when I went back to Nigeria, I got fascinated by Abeokuta, where my father was from. It means the town under the rock. And the first time I ever heard my father's voice, I was standing in a market, and I phoned him on a payphone. And I was thinking, why is this place called Abeokuta? Why is it called, it means town under the rock? And there was a bloody great rock. So it was literally was the town under the rock. That makes sense. And so I got I found out, that my Nigerian, my English name, my daddy brought me up. His name's Worrall. And we know that actually is probably from, a hill town in North Yorkshire called Worrall. Think that's it. And then on my mom's side, Levitt, we think that was probably French Jews being persecuted and moving into the East End of London, where her father was born. So I traced bits of that, and then on the Nigerian side, my actual family name, my father's family name is Eshurosho. I probably don't pronounce that completely correctly. Eshurosho. And apparently, some people say it means wizard's beads. So the Osho is wizard or sorcerer.
Okay.
And the Eshuru, some people say it means beads. Other people say it means yam.
Okay.
Well, actually, I found out through one of my brothers, who's a bit of a genealogist. He told me the story of the family name, and goes back to the 19th century. So originally, when you were Yoruba, you would just have one name, and then you would be called son of, son of somebody. So like, I don't know, John's, like when slaves were given the name, John's son of John.
Yeah.
What I found out was that there's a story, and I love stories, and there was a story about a famous battle that took place between the Egbas. So the Egbas are a kind of division, or they're a group of people that belong to the Yoruba. It's like a sub-tribe, I suppose. And they went into battle with a king called King Gezo of Dahomey. And originally the Yoruba were from Benin, so which is kind of borders Nigeria and Niger. But they due to various battles and stuff, they had to move, and they migrated to Abeokuta. So the Egbas were traditionally were farmers.
Yes.
But because of these battles, they had to turn into warriors. And apparently, King Gezo, he was seen to be a sorcerer because he was so good in battle, and he never lost battles. And he had this necklace of beads, and he came in. And the Egbas went into battle with them, and apparently this battle was with thousands of women, soldiers, Amazonians. And apparently they were really fiery in battle. And one of these battles raged for days and days and days, and it looked like the Egbas were gonna lose. And finally they kind of retreated, then reformed, and kind of revitalized themselves, and they fought back. And somewhere during this whole big battle, the beads of King Gezo broke. His necklace broke, and his beads fell to the floor. And during this battle, three of the Egba soldiers, that dog's just agreeing. Three of the Egba soldiers, he must be one of them. Three of the Egba soldiers, they found some of his beads. So one of those, Sofidea, he decided then to call his son Eshurosho. Which means wizard's beads. And apparently there were two other soldiers who also did the same. So apparently there's three main clans of the Eshuroshos. So during that time as well, the Yoruba started to become anglicized and adopted the Christian religion. So that meant they would have a first name and a surname. And so Sovidaya's son became, his son kind of became, I don't know if his name was Abraham Eshurosho. And that apparently is my great, or don't know how many greats, grandfather. And then his father had my father. And then down to, like, obviously my father's siblings. So that's kind of the bit of the story. So I love myth. And I always know that in some stories are myth, and some stories are like Kulkan and all those stories, the Island and Bridget. Some of those stories are partially myth and partially real. But I love reimagining that types of story. So one of the things I'm working on at the moment is imagining that I am Sophie Dyer telling that story.
Oh, wow. Very powerful. It's connection, like, as well.
So that's kind of, so I've started developing it, and it's what I'm going to be kind of sharing or trying out tomorrow night.
Oh,
is a version of that.
Brilliant. And by tomorrow night, you mean you're going to be on featured artists here in...
Yeah, exactly.
So that will, by the time the podcast will be out, will be past.
Okay.
It's an interesting fact.
Well, I'm sure it was wonderful.
So to our future selves. Talking about time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I just want to ask you one more question. Your beautiful outfit. Can you explain a bit about... You were telling us earlier on about your...
Yeah, so this is kind of one of the hats that is worn in traditional Yoruba culture, and depending on the way you wear it, it can depend, you know, if you're single, or if you're married, or if you're laid back, or if you're proud. So it depends on so the way I'm wearing it now is if I was married.
Yes.
And this is just something traditional we would wear. Something traditional I would wear when I'm in Nigeria.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love the colours, and it's
Thank
interesting.
you.
So, listen, Rob, thank you so much for doing the Brigg Bus podcast for us. Really, really appreciate it. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
I really do, and I wish you well, and you know, for the future. And I know you'll be back up here with us.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And be always welcome.
Won't keep me away.
No, and then we, like, Brigg Bus on tour might go down to Cork.
Okay, sounds
so
good.
that'd be, because you're part of the Triscoll.
Yeah, so I'm also on the board of the Triscoll Arts Centre.
Yeah, but really, so there's another connection then for bringing into Cork.
Always welcome.
So thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, thanks.